Good afternoon, Alfie. Warren.
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine. Thanks a lot for talking to Baylor TV.
That's fine, that's fine. How are you today? Okay?
I'm good. I'm good, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Okay, let's get down to things. There's lots of questions I need to ask you. And first of all, I believe you're the nephew of Frank Warren.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Okay, so I know that you're doing some stuff in your own right. But for those of people who don't know the sort of family connections, could you just quickly kind of like explain?
Yeah, well, yeah, as I say, though, Frank's my uncle. I've been actually doing this for it'll be 2 years this November. I've never really thought of taking this up. We actually done a charity event for one of our partners, Paul Lark, one of his friends, and I was the MC on the night. And
Okay.
so what happened was after the show, it was a great success, and I was like helping Paul out with the show. Like I ended up helping him out with the show and so forth. And it was such a great success that people just wanted another one. So Paul drafted me in and asked if I wanted to join up with him and start promoting shows. And so that's where it's all really come from, really. Like obviously, like I've been around. Like my uncle, my family, my cousin Francis and George, they're promoters as well. So I've been around it all with them. So I mean, I've always been a big fan of boxing. I've been a die-hard fan of boxing since I was young. So when the opportunity come, when Paul asked me to join box office promotions with them, or found box office promotions with them, I just took to it straight away. So yeah, it's just all been born from there, really.
Okay, so box office promotions. Tell us about how the name came about. 'Cause it's quite catchy, box office. When you say box office, people automatically think sort of like Sky box office, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I actually did. I've got to take credit for that because I actually did think of that name as well. But I was actually trying to think of a name that would sound big time, And I think, like you just said, it's catchy,
Hmm.
and it does sound big time. Box office promotions, but that's the name we're going to stick with, and hopefully, we're going to get bigger and bigger, and box office promotions is going to be known from now on.
So, as I said, there's loads of questions to ask. I know we can talk about the fights that are on the card a little later, because I want to know a little bit more about Alfie Warren in terms of your rise as a promoter or your promoter stroke manager, right?
Yeah, well, not stroke manager. I mean, we're looking after some fighters now, I suppose. We've got our own little stable of fighters. George Hilliard has
Yes.
joined up with us, and he's going to be dealing with us from now on as well. So I'm looking after George, which is quite an honour in itself. I mean, I've watched George as a big talent as well. I mean, he come through the ranks with Kevin Mitchell and so on as well when he was tipped to be a huge prospect. And obviously, I think he lost his way. He had personal problems outside the ring, lost his way a bit, and then ended up failing a brain scan. I mean, you say failing it. There was just a change in one scan from the other, and the British Border Control refused to license him.
Hmm.
So obviously, there's no risk. He's come back with numerous new scan results as well, and the doctors are saying there's no reason why he should fight on, but the Boxing Border Control have decided to hold his license, but which is partly up for them. Obviously, they don't want to take the risk with it as well, but he's been all clear to fight. So, I mean, George, he's a young man as well. So, I mean, we could do a lot with him. I'm looking to take him up and down the country as well, doing what we're doing. I mean, people say like, well, it is because we're not licensed by the Border Control, but our shows really like, well, how can I say it? We followed the Boxing Border Control rules like no other. We have medics on standby, we have doctors, we do medicals for our fighters, and so on. And I mean, this is going to be in good stead because I do eventually want to be working with the Border Control. So, I mean, I think this is really good experience for me. I mean, I've been doing this for 2 years. I've got a hell of a lot to learn.
Yes.
I think we've all got a hell of a lot to learn, and I think this is a good platform for what we're doing. And we've attracted some big names fighting for us. I mean, more notably, we had a fight on June the 22nd this year featuring Danny Williams and Dominic Negus. And I
Hmm.
think that we promoted that fight so well that I actually do believe, barring any fight that the Border Control have put on, I think outside of that restriction, that was probably the most talked about fight that the border control weren't involved in, like in Britain, I think. And I'm proud to say that we made a success of that show.
So I know, Alfie, you've listened to a few of my interviews beforehand, so you know that I'm a person that's going to ask you straight, direct questions. And,
yeah.
And boxing fans like to hear the truth. They don't want to hear nicey interviews. And I have to be honest with you. I did interview recently, and the consensus was like, oh, well, why are you giving exposure? Why are you talking to people that are outside the realm of the British Boxing Board of Control, like sort of unlicensed boxing and white collar? Why are you giving that any sort of exposure? But
well,
do
you know what? I mean, people like are saying, "Oh, this is like unlicensed boxing as well." Like Danny Williams and Dominic Negus, they are professional boxers who are just not licensed by the Border Control, and like we're not like taking guys off the street and getting them fighting each other like Danny Williams. I didn't get Danny Williams an opponent, just dragged him off the street. Go on, Dan, go and fight him. They're fighting. They're fighting professional fighters. It's just not licensed by them. I don't see the problem. I mean, we've got some of the undercard people that obviously like we're showcasing as well. But I mean, you could say the same about them because it's not. I mean, you could say the same about the ABAs. Like people say, oh, it's unlicensed stuff. It's rubbish. It's rubbish. I mean, me personally, I don't really personally like watching the ABA fights. I don't think the ABAs are my cup of tea. But I mean, to say that unlicensed boxing, what they're saying, it's a load of rubbish. I mean, you got people like Nick Blackwell who fought Billy Joe Saunders for the British title.
Yes.
And you got people like Lee Purdy who's just fought Devin Alexander. These people have come from unlicensed stock. I mean, I think that people should be watching out for these unlicensed shows because there is talent coming through, but they're deciding not to go with the ABAs. I mean, you know what I mean? I actually do think I've been to some unlicensed shows where they're much better than the pro shows. I've been to many, but I mean, our shows, like we had Dominic Negus versus Danny, like we everything goes straight down the line like the Border Control. We have ex referees that have worked with the Border Control. We had Steve Oldsworth officiating that fight. I've got Bruce Scott fighting Umar Kemalainen, two professional fighters who are fighting each other. They're just not licensed. I mean, I don't see a problem why they're both fit to go. There's no medical reason why they shouldn't go. They're going to be officiated by Seamus Dunn, who was an ex-Border Control referee. So everything, it is like the pro shows, But I think you do get some of these small hall professional promoters which should know better than to like slag us off, because you've all got to start somewhere, And I think like for them to say, that they haven't, like most of them have started the same way as me, and because obviously they're licensed now, they're on the other side of the fence. But they should always remember where they have come from, and that's my opinion anyway. But I think some of these small hall professional promoters as well are quite threatening, especially with these fights that we're putting on, like Dominic Negus and Danny Williams, and then Bruce Scott and Umar Kemalainen, because they're genuine fights. You know what I mean? They're not freak shows or anything. You watch Danny and Dominic; it was a great fight. It was a great fight, and I was proud of the fact that it was a great fight. I think that you see Danny Williams, he was glad to fight back in London, and that really gave him and he even said to me that really gave him a boost, and he hasn't and I don't think he performed like that for a long time. So I mean, people want to slag it off, but people, like you say, listen, you can't please everyone. You know what I mean? You can't.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
But Alfie, if I don't ask you these questions, and I take the nicey approach and do interviews, as I know a lot of people doing interviews and ask nice questions, and how you doing, mate? Alfie, how are you today? Hey, are you fighters in good shape? And if I do that stuff, we don't get the real questions answered, and boxing fans need to know the truth from the lies, because there's a lot of murky water. And so when somebody says, "Oh, that's an unlicensed event," that in boxing fans can be like sheep. If you tell them something,
well, that's what I'm saying. I think it stems for people like you to ask those questions, because then I can put my answer through.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And you don't get some people. People are so one-minded. You know what I mean about
exactly.
this. It is down to people like you, and I'm glad to ask these questions. Obviously, I want to tell the fans what I think, because I'm a boxing fan as well.
Mm.
Like I'm a promoter, but I am a boxing fan as well, and I like to hear those questions being answered as well. So it's good for the game that people should start answering these questions and not just. I mean, yeah, and like answer the negative questions more than the positive questions. I think
So,
that's right.
so none of what I'm saying to you, Alfie, is a personal attack on you or your character or anything like that. That this is
Yeah.
just asking questions as any logical person would ask and say, "Hey, why is that? Why is this? How
Well,
is this?"
it's the questions that everyone's asking, obviously, and then like you're exactly that's what it is, and I'm here to answer those questions. You know.
Right. So let's go forward this a bit more, because I know that you are actually now representing a hell of a lot of people here. You represent a lot of people from the white collar boxing, and this whole thing about it not being licensed. If the British Boxing Board of Control say it's not a goer, then people look at the British Boxing Board of Control as a body, a force. So if the British Boxing Board of Control say no, then that wipes you out as a black mark or a red mark against you. Why
Well,
is that the case, or why does that seem
I,
the case?
I don't see. I mean, everyone looks at the Boxing Board of Control as a law, and they should be there. You know, I'm
Mm.
not saying nothing bad about them, because I think the Boxing Board of Control should be there. But I mean, it's just the same thing. I think the Boxing Board of Control, they own the British title, so they own all the British titles. But it's the same. I could go and take a license out in Malta or Luxembourg, you know, and then represent these fighters. But if I was to do that, maybe it would be frowned upon. I mean, because they don't actually license the people, people think it's wrong, you know. And I think it is a shame with that. But obviously, you know, it's called, like you say, like when promoters are having rivalries. Maybe in some sense that's the sort of rivalry like that. They're going up against the border control, which is, I'm not being funny. Like I'm not an idiot. You can't go up against the border control because, like, I mean, not saying you can't go up against the border control, but the border control do have the most exposure. They've got the TV rights and so on. But like
Right.
with all the professional fighters, you know. But I don't see a reason why fighters, because they're not licensed by that body, should not go out and earn a living when they're fit and ready to fight. You know, I look at the unlicensed show, and I don't really like to call it unlicensed, really, because to say it's unlicensed, it sounds wrong. You know, that
Mm.
it just sounds like it's like something illegal, which it ain't.
Yes, that's it.
It's something. That's the thing, and it's not. It's not illegal. We're not doing nothing wrong here. You know, to be honest with you, I'm learning my trade. Really, I want to be working with a border control soon.
Okay.
You know, I'm not going to slag them off because I do actually want to be working with them. But I
Right.
think this is a platform for me to learn my trade on, and you know, I'm getting these fighters like Bruce Scott, and I mean, for 2 years, what I've been doing it for the fighters that are coming through, like we've promoted Danny Williams, Dominic Negus, Bruce Scott, Umar Kamalane, George Hilliard. You know, I mean, for 2 years, and they're actually attracted to us because I think the reason they're attracted to us is because we do pride ourselves. We do put on good shows as well, and I mean, it's not just a boxing event. You know, it's something for everyone in our shows. You come up, we've got like soul singers there. We've got bands playing. You know, I mean, we've got DJs playing music out throughout the night. It's like a party atmosphere, you know, in our
It's a
shows.
whole
And
all-round
and I
entertainment.
think, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think boxers are attracted to fighting on our one because the fans feel comfortable in our shows. You know, that's
Right.
that, and that's what I think we pride ourselves on. You know,
Now,
definitely.
I will mention something here that your uncle did, which for those people who still haven't got it, is Frank Warren.
Yeah.
He did go against the board, if I remember, and went and got two heavyweight fighters, David Hay and Derek Chisora, and I believe they were on a Luxembourg license or something like that.
Well, exactly. That's what
So
I'm saying.
exactly, there we go. And that was unlicensed, wasn't it? If you want to take it in that, because
Oh,
they went
exactly.
against the
So,
board.
so does that make it an unlicensed fight because the British Border Control haven't
Right.
licensed? Exactly my point. Exactly my point. And that term unlicensed, all that means is that the British Border Control are not sanctioning it.
So
And I'm not being funny. They're not the law. They're not the law. So they shouldn't determine who should fight and who shouldn't. That's my opinion anyway.
So there you go. You've got the David Hay, Derek Chisora fight, which is one of the biggest fights in well, maybe in British boxing history, right?
well, one of the biggest heavyweight fights, of recent times, without a doubt. And
Absolutely.
I'm not being funny. I think the border control, they could have stopped that, the border control, if they would have said to Derek Chisora, you're banned. But they actually said to Derek Chisora, right, we're taking your license off you, but feel free to take out a license somewhere else. That's exactly what they said. They did not think it. So they've gone round the border control. They haven't done nothing illegal and all that stuff. And all it was because their nose was bent out of shape about it, and they wasn't involved. They tried to sabotage it, but it didn't work out. And to say like, oh my God, because of what happened in Munich and all that. I mean, you watched, that was great for British boxing. I mean, even after the fight, after all that mayhem and everything, and they embrace each other, walking around the ring with each other, that's what boxing's all about. And to say it was a bad advert for boxing was absolute nonsense, because I tell you what, the border control should have sanctioned that fight. They should have said, I think they should have maybe banned, if they would have banned Derek Chisora for 4 or 5 months, or like 3 or 4 months, something like that, as a punishment, the border control would have sanctioned it. I think because they wasn't involved, and those were put out of joint, and it was made into a big thing, which it shouldn't have been, really.
Exactly. And I believe that the whole thing in Munich got 10 million views on YouTube.
I was surprised. I think I might have been responsible for a few thousand of them views. So, I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't. I'm not condoning what happened as well, because it wasn't. It wasn't like graceful scenes and all that. They were, there was bad scenes, and it was bad for British boxing. But I think the way to, and they're saying, oh, like, this is going to be a bad advert for boxing. This is a bad advert for kids. I don't think it is, because I think the lesson for the whole lot of that saga was, especially like you've had a little row, right? That's it. Go and sort it out in a properly way, and that's exactly what they did. They sorted the difference out in a way which it wasn't. You know, I mean, I reckon that if they might have stayed out of each other's way, who knows what would have happened? You know, I mean, if they're saying Derek Chisora would have got banned for life, if David Haye wouldn't have got banned for life, if they would have passed each other in the street or something, you don't know what would happen. So I think that it was good for British boxing what happened. I think that's the way to do it, is sort your differences out in the ring. Absolutely. If you've got a problem with someone, if you're two boxers who've got a problem with someone, sort your differences out in the ring, and both earn each other's respect.
So okay, so that's all that sort of deals with the unlicensed side of things, because you just look at David Haye and Derek Chisora, so we can stop talking about that side of things now.
Yeah.
Let's focus on other things. Again, because you have the last name Warren, that works twofold. One fold is, well, Frank Warren. Everyone knows Frank Warren was or is the biggest promoter. You know,
yeah.
And people would argue now Eddie Hearn's the man on the scene now. So before Eddie Hearn would say Frank Warren was the man. All right.
Yeah.
So
I still think that he's up there. I still think, or in my eyes, I mean, I'm not being biased, because I think that he is the man. I think that Eddie Hearn at the moment is has showcased a lot of big fighters, but he's got a long way to go to achieve what Frank's achieved in the sport. And in my opinion, I don't think that any other British promoter will achieve what Frank's achieved in this sport. And I'm not being funny. Frank's still riding high up there, you know.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, but I think what it comes down to, especially with Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, is obviously the broadcasting platforms. I mean, you always see someone saying, oh, I'm happy to be fighting back on Sky Sports. I'm happy to be fighting back on Sky Sports. No one mentions I'm happy to be fighting like for this promoter, that promoter as well. People want to get showcased, you know. I mean, Frank's took a big risk for from Box Nation, you know, to do so, and some of these fighters come along, and obviously, like it's took a while to kick off Box Nation, but I think it's finally kicked off. But some of the domestic people didn't think they was getting showcased enough, so they would look elsewhere. But I was just to say, I think, yeah, it all comes down to British for the Box Nation platform as well. So Box Nation and Sky Sports, because that's the real rivalry, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Box Nation and Sky Sports, and I think it is good. I think you should have more than one
rivalry, of course.
Oh yeah, exactly. Without rivalry, it's the same like in the days of Mickey Duff as well. Like when they had the monopoly, when it was just the one promoter who basically run the whole of the British run the whole of British boxing. It was a bland division, you know. It's great if you get some of Frank's fighters to fight Eddie Hearn's fighters, because it adds a bit of spice to the fight.
Absolutely. So I know a lot of people have a lot of things to say about Frank Warren, but without Frank Warren, there would not be a Box Nation.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So on that side,
Yeah, I mean, Sky Sports are limited dates for the boxing. I mean, without Box Nation, you wouldn't get to showcase Kelly Sauerland's events in Germany. You wouldn't get to see half the American fights what you see now on British soil. You wouldn't be able to see them on Sky Sports. I think it's great for British boxing, and you get some people. I mean, you've had Eddie Earn quoted before, like, "Oh, I think Box Nation's a joke" and all that. And I think to myself, I'm not being funny, Eddie. I mean, if Box Nation wasn't invented and Frank was still at Sky, I don't think you'd be as big as well, because I've never known. I think, as my point before, it does stem down to the broadcasting platforms, because it was very rarely that a British fighter would have left Frank for another British promoter. And it's not for the fact that Frank's not doing a good job and not doing right by his fighters. It stems down to the broadcasting platform. And I mean, good luck to. I mean, Eddie Earn has been doing this 2 years as well, but I mean, I'm starting off in a very, very small way. I mean, he's had a huge financial backing behind him. He's Matchroom's an established company. I'm actually building a company from scratch. I haven't got millions and millions in the bank to spend on these fighters, but I think for what I've done in a small amount of time, and with very small revenue, I think that I've done marvellous. And I think if I was in Eddie Earn's shoes with what he's got, his financial backing and established Matchroom thing, I think that I could do just as good a job, if not better. But I mean, I think that Eddie Earn is doing a great job for boxing. I think that he is a good promoter. I think that he promotes his fight as well. And yeah, good luck to him. But the rivalry is good. I mean, sometimes people take it out of proportion. Maybe some things could get personal, which they shouldn't do. But yeah, I think that it is great for British boxing, this rivalry as well. But like you say, I mean, we got some great fights coming up. I mean, Tyson Fury and like Tyson Fury and David Haye. I mean, don't rule out Mickey Hennessy. I mean, he's up there. He's got some great talents as well. There's so many great promoters out there with so many great fighters. I just think it's a great time for British boxing.
Absolutely. Now the flip side of the Warren is a lot of the negative press that Frank gets from various fallouts from fighters, Tony Bellew, Ricky Burns. We could keep going on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Right now, how does I don't want to focus on Frank because it's not the Frank Warren interview. This is the Alfie Warren interview. How does that impact your day-to-day business deal and say, oh well, if you're part of the Warrens, I've got nothing to do with you? How does that impact you?
Well, I think if people was to think like that about me, I just think you're a moron, because I'm doing my own thing here. I mean, what I'm doing is nothing to do with Frank. I've got my own business. I'm my own man. I'm my own character. I mean, my name the Warren name has helped me in good stead. I'm not going to lie, it has helped me in good stead along the way, and a lot of people. But I mean, I don't think you can judge so many people. Because, I mean, you could say the same about Eddie Earn. I mean, Barry Earn fell out with many of these fighters. You know what I mean? So I mean, you could say the same. Why would people want to deal with Eddie Earn if he was Barry Earn's son? I don't think that. I think that if people are narrow-minded like that, then I think people are idiots. And I mean, you can see on these social networks that you do get the odd morons out.
That's what I'm saying. But I put these things and I ask these questions because I know what some of these morons think. So what I try and do is not address the moron in that sense. Is ask the question and then let the person I'm asking the question to answer the question and answer the moron in the process.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Exactly. Do you know what? I remember I From London, Cougar Cassius actually done an interview with Bruce Scott.
Yes.
And it's these little comments that do make me laugh. That someone actually put on. So I mean, Bruce Scott. We all know Bruce Scott. Bruce Scott. I enjoyed watching him fight when I was a young kid. When he was Frank. I remember watching a fight with Gary Delaney when Delaney didn't come out in the third round. And I used to think, what an animal this guy is. And I remember being there when he fought Enzo Matrinelli.
Yes, I remember that fight.
And Bruce Scott is so tough. And if you're a boxing fan, you would know who Bruce Scott is. I talk to genuine boxing fans, they know. And I remember he done an interview, and there was a comment on YouTube. This is a very bad interview, Coogan. I don't even know who this fella is. I went.
I read it as well.
I'm sorry, you know what I mean? I don't know who this person is. This is a bad interview. And I call them part-time boxing fans, box office boxing fans, because all they want to, that's all they know. They know a handful of boxers or something, that they're not diehard boxing fans. And do you know what? Do you know what? You don't even have to react to people like that. You just laugh it off. Then that's exactly what I do. Exactly what I do.
Absolutely, but I'm glad you point things out like that, Alfie, and you obviously got your ear to the ground and you see what's going on social media, because I see it as well. I see the nonsense and I get it as well. Who's that fighter? I don't know who that is. I mean, you know, and then when they get a big fight, oh, I remember that guy you did that interview with. Like, I did a couple of interviews with Keith Thurman. When Keith Thurman, like, not a lot of people knew about Keith Thurman. I went and did an interview with him because I recognised the skill he had. Like now it's like, oh yeah, Keith Thurman, he's great.
Yeah. They didn't want to know at first. I know it's absolutely ridiculous as well. So, and going back to that Box Nation, that's why this channel is great for boxing, because, like you just said, people don't know who Keith Thurman is. Like Box Nation that showcases that sort of thing. They showed the undercard things. I mean, there's fighters out there I didn't know who existed, and like I'm following them, and they've only had like a handful of 5 fights, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, when's their next fight? I want to look them up now, you know.
Yeah,
and
of course.
I would have never have ever heard of them until they got big, and I think, yeah, I mean, that's another positive side for the Box Nation, I suppose. Like
the journey.
Yeah, exactly. And you watch these guys grow on this channel, and I think that's what's good for the boxing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember doing an interview with Malik Scott, and Malik Scott, I thought, who's this guy? He seems pretty boring. Don't know anything about it. He's unbeaten. He looks boring. Did an interview with him. It ended up being a whole journey with him. Then him getting a fight with Derek Chisora, and you know, and the whole back and forth with that, and it's been a great journey with that. So I've been privileged to be able to get some good interviews with some really good fighters, Austin Trout and the likes. But that's because, you know, you have an interest in a fighter, not because you know them or they've been on Sky or they, you know them because you may have seen them at undercard fights. Hey, that guy's talented. He's going places. Let me get an interview with him.
Oh, without that. Yeah, without that. Yeah, I've noticed many a thing. I mean, when I used to, I remember when Frank first signed Liam Walsh up.
Yes.
For his first professional fight. And I remember I was sitting next to my granddad. I think it was at your call when it was his first professional fight. And I remember watching him, and I went to my granddad, do you know what? It's something special. And the more and more I went, I actually become a big fan of Liam Walsh.
Yes.
You know, and just fought Scott Harrison. And I follow him all the way now, Liam Walsh. And it is those sort of, it's the other, you have to watch something in a fighter as well. And I think Liam Walsh I think he's got a lot to learn as well. But I think that he's not far off from actually competing with the elite now. So I mean, I do actually I love following the boxers from when they're down, you know, when they first start, from when they come up. As soon as you see something special, you know, I honestly, as a boxing fan, that's exactly what I love. That's what I love about the game.
Let me ask you a question, as I'm asking many questions. When you're interviewed, what goes through your mind?
Do you know what? Like you say, I'm prepared for any question is thrown at me as well, because I mean the questions you're asking me now is I mean I have got an opinion on boxing, and every question you're going to ask me now, I'm going to put my opinion through. Like you say, you want truthful answers, and I don't mind whatever question. I'm not going to get rattled by any question at all. I'll answer every question honestly and openly. You know, I've got my opinions as well, and if there's something that people don't agree with and they want to ask me something, I'll put my explanation forward. So I mean, getting interviewed, it's never really been that daunting for me, to be honest with you. It never really has been, and like, yeah, I think I'm quite relaxed really when I do the interviews. So.
Okay, so let's go back and talk about obviously what we're here about. I think it's October the 2nd.
October the 12th.
October the 12th. So there you go, 10 days out. See, so I got there early. You know, I reserved my seat early. That was all.
That's.
So October 12th. Tell me about it.
Bruce Scott got in contact with us. He wanted to fight for us. I think that he heard a lot about Danny and Dominic. We had a lot of media around that fight as well. I mean, that was a groundbreaking fight for us, really, Danny and Dominic, because I think that put us. We started really to getting noticed once we put that fight on. So, and a lot of people started noticing us as well. So, I mean, Bruce wanted to come back. You know, he didn't want to go through the border control, and so he just wanted to fight. That's exactly what he wanted to do, was to fight. So, and when he was put in touch with me, Bruce Scott, obviously, as I said before, like I've been a big fan of Bruce Scott, so I went straight away. Oh yeah, definitely. And I said, yeah, we'll talk. And I think, because you see some of these guys that, I mean, he hasn't been in the ring for 3 years, but you see some of these guys that haven't been in the ring, they turn into, you know what I mean, out of shape people and all that. But Bruce Scott, that's not the case with him as well. He's in just as good a shape as he is from all his fighting career. You know, he kept himself in great shape. As soon as he actually wanted to fight for us, I snapped him up straight away. So we was actually, like I said, we were looking for an opponent for Bruce Scott. I was trying to really pick the opponent carefully. Like I said, I don't want to pick someone off the street. It's not credible. What's that going to prove for Bruce? You know, picking some guy out the street, going here, go and fight him, Bruce. You know what I mean? Get on there, have an easy win. No. So we actually got in contact with Umar Kamalainen, who you interviewed a little while ago, yes. Umar. So we got in contact with him. He wanted to fight on our show in the Clash of the Titans. So once we had a look at him on his box rec. We had a look at a few videos, and like he's an ex-pro. He's an ex-pro in his own right. He's got a great amateur record. I watched some of his fights as well. Great style as well. And I looked at it and I thought, you know what? I said to like my partner Paul, I said, look, this could be something of a good fight for Bruce. You know, so we phoned Umar up, offered him the fight. He wanted to get back in the ring, the same as Bruce, and he took the fight straight away. You know, and I think. It's got a bit of tension to get this fight already, you know. Yeah. I think there's been a bit of banter between the pair of them as well. Absolutely. I think Bruce is saying he's not in his class, but I mean, Umar come to the gym for a media workout, and I was very surprised how good he was when you look at him in person. I think, it's the making of a great fight because they're both on comeback fights, you know, and they both want a point, and they've both got a point to prove. So you're going to expect to see fireworks throughout that fight anyway, and I'm really looking forward to that anyway. I'm really looking forward to that.
There was a part of the interview where Bruce said something about being semi-pro. Can you explain that to me?
Well, I think that they tried to use the term semi-pro because they didn't want to use the word unlicensed, like they say. And I think in an interview they said, what would you class this as, like semi-pro? I think because we want to stay away from the word unlicensed, you know, right. And I think that's the word that he might have come out with. But like he said in the interview before, they're both professional fighters. This is really a professional boxing fight.
But the thing is, I Film London is watched by so many people, Alfie. Okay, so now people watch it and say, "Oh, he's having a semi-pro bout." So the seriousness is not taken in. Could you have lost potential audience or fans because they said semi-pro? I don't know, because there's negative connotations.
I think like you say, some of the armchair fans, like I like to call them, might have lost interest in them saying it. But I mean, if you're a big boxing fan, which there are many of them in Britain, you would know straight away it wasn't a semi-pro bout. But for Bruce to come out with that, like, I can alliterate that now. It's not a semi-pro bout; it's a professional bout.
Right.
It's a professional bout that's not sanctioned. That's all it is.
Right. Okay. I mean, I want to go back to one fighter that you mentioned, and you have kept mentioning, Danny Williams.
Yeah.
Danny Williams had a great fight against Dominic Negus, okay?
Yep.
Agreed. The fight he had afterwards, which was about, I think it was last Saturday?
Yeah, I actually did watch it, yeah. I was very, very surprised how he actually boxed. I mean, that wasn't the Danny Williams that was at the Troxy. But I think he might have took that fight again at short notice. But I'm not being funny. Even if he did take that fight at short notice, he should have made easy work at that out of that person, really, who he fought, the fighter he fought. So, but I think with Danny Williams, why he performed so well was because he was back in England and he was fighting a British fighter. You know, I think he had a bulk of his fans come to the Troxy. Where he's going away, he's not taking fans abroad. You know, with him. And I think he had so many fans. It was like, he even said it was just like the old days. And he actually said, for the Dominic Negus fight, the fire was in his belly. Like he said, I'm actually quite. He goes, he's never really been nervous for a fight. He's actually quite nervous. He had the butterflies. He had the momentum going into Dominic's fight. And I think, I don't think that you should judge Dominic for his last performance. I actually think that is a pivotal point that he actually did fight in England. Again, after 3 years since his last fight with Derek Chisora, he had fans there cheering him on, which he hasn't had when he's going to Germany, when he's going to Romania. He hasn't got fans there cheering him on, and I think that really helped him through that fight. And he performed out of his skin. And I'm not. I mean, Dominic gave him tough fight, you know. I mean, Dominic traded with him for four rounds, but on the strength of his last performance as well. But I actually did say to Danny after the Dominic, I went, do you know what? You had a great fight with Dominic. Just end it on a high now. You've got your win, you know. Just end it and all that. But he's his own man, you know, Danny, and he wants to go on. And it was a shame to actually see the way he got beat on Saturday. But like I said,
it was really bad.
It was quite sad to see, really. It was quite sad to see that. So, I mean, after you're watching him against Dominic, and I was really pleased for Danny the way he performed. He gave the fans a great fight, you know. And I mean, that fight with Dominic and Danny, I think that that was better than some like a few heavyweight fights that I've seen in the professional ranks, you know, like the professional ranks. You know what I mean? Like. Yeah, like in the professional ranks I've seen. I mean, that could a lot better. So, but yeah, it is sad to see. But I don't. In my personal opinion, I don't think on the strength of that performance that Danny should go on.
Right. Really. So then you know what I'm going to ask you next, don't you?
What are you going to ask me next?
I'm going to ask you if Danny Looms said, "I want to fight on box office promotions again." What are you going to say to him?
I've actually advised Danny with that. He wanted to fight. He actually offered to fight in an exhibition on one of our shows, like to help out with our promotions and so on. But I mean, on the strength of the last performance, you know, I don't think it might appeal to people, you know. But if it in a competitive fight, I wouldn't promote Danny Williams in a competitive fight ever again. I don't think, especially on the strength of the last performance. Never.
Okay, because you know people will say, you know, oh well, you know, it's unlicensed stuff, and then look at him, he's gone and got Danny Williams, and look, Danny Williams can't defend himself now.
I mean, they say that. Danny actually offered me to promote him and Mark Potter after Dominic and Danny a couple of days after. He wanted me, and I said no. I said no, because I'm not going to go back on my word after that. I'll give him advice. On my advice, I said to him, just end it on a high with Dominic. And, you know, I mean, I'm not going to go back on my word with that. I'm a man of my word, and I'm not going to go back on my word and encourage him to fight on if I don't think he should fight on.
Let me ask you a question here. What means more to you, building an unbeaten record with a fighter and getting him a world title shot and then seeing him get smashed to bits? Or to put your fighter through competitive fights, taking a chance that he may possibly lose, but gain good experience? What means more to you?
Do you know what? I mean, that is a good question. You know, I think that you should build a fighter up. There is some fighters that you think are special, like who you feel confident in putting them in with big fighters. I think like the fight with Lee Purdy and Devin Alexander, I think that they had a chance to build Lee Purdy up in that fight, and I think to take that fight was. He was in a no-win situation in that fight because he had no experience. A lot of heart, Lee Purdy, a tough man, a lot of heart. But I don't think he should have been in that ring with Devin Alexander at that moment of time. And I thought that you had a good fighter in Lee Purdy. The wins he was racking up in that. I mean, he lost to Peter McDonough and all that early on in his career, and they was building him. They was building him up good. And I think when they put him in with Devin Alexander, I just thought it was madness because I thought here's a chance. You've got a real talented kid here. You could build him up to be fighting the likes of that in about 2-3 years' time if you put him on the right path. I think it was way too early for him, but maybe he will gain experience for that, or maybe it will shot his confidence. That's a risk you have for the fighters as well, and I hope it hasn't shot his confidence. But I don't think I would have took such a risk with Lee Purdy.
Okay,
especially in that instant.
Let's get a little closer to home. Kovalev versus Cleverly.
Do you know what? I was actually shocked that Kovalev did put Cleverly away because I watched Kovalev's fight, and he is a banger. And I thought, but you know what? He hasn't been put in with someone who's got a granite chin like Nathan Cleverly. And then after the fight, of course, everyone's going, Nathan Cleverly's got exposed. I went, no, not whatsoever. I just think this guy's something special. To actually take Nathan Cleverly out, who's got a proven granite chin, you've got to be something special, you know? You've got to be.
I did a prediction video, and I said that Kovalev would stop Cleverly inside 6. I looked at a fight he had against a guy ranked 11 by the WBO. I think it's Kuzmanik. He fought, and Kuzmanik hit him in the 3rd round with a left hook. Now, Kuzmanik isn't a known puncher, and he hurt Cleverly badly. And I said, if Cleverly's getting hurt by a guy who is ranked number 11 by the WBO and has got 2 weeks' notice, and he's getting badly hurt by him, Kovalev, as soon as he hits Cleverly hard, the fight is over. And that's really what happened.
Oh, exactly, and I think that Cleverly's mistake as well. I don't know if the occasion might have got to him. With Cleverly, he's in front of his own fans. There was a lot of pressure on there. I'd actually my dad spent a lot of time with the Kovalev camp during coming up to fight week, and they were so confident, the Americans, that he was going to win, and that was the thing. And I mean, Kovalev, I think that he actually, even in the first round, I think that he actually did feel the power. Cleverly, as well, because I think after the first round, I mean, even though his punches were hitting Cleverly's gloves, you could still feel those punches. I mean, you're going to feel those punches, and I think after the first round, and the thing is, it's always the same with Nathan Cleverly. He's another fighter like Amir Khan. They will let their heart rule their head, and he tried to trade with Kovalev, which I remember watching it. I was actually watching it on the telly, screaming at the telly. As like I was there or something, just move away. And I was surprised, because it didn't even seem like Kovalev got out of first gear the whole fight, and that's what was shocking.
But the thing was, there was no. I said the boxers, when I did my analysis, I said the fighters fight in patterns, and it's the great fighters that can adapt and change their game plan. Nathan Cleverly, in all of his career, had never shown anything different than standing in front of fighters and having a tear up. And if you're standing and having a tear up in every fight that you're having, then you decide to fight. You've got a pistol gun against a guy who's got an atomic bomb. Well, you know what's going to happen, don't you?
Exactly. It's like you say. It's just like bringing a knife to a gunfight, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's exactly what it is.
And the thing is, that guy was prepared to use the gun.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. But I mean, he's been in there, like you say, like the fight you mentioned before, he was ranked number 11, he hurt Cleverly. But I mean, he stayed toe to toe with Bellew, and Bellew can bang, And I remember watching that. That's one of the best British fights that I've seen in a long time.
That was a good fight.
And Bellew as well, and that was toe to toe. And I think that maybe that when you watch some of Kovalev's fights, I mean, there was no one to know really apart from Cornelius White that he actually has done a good job on.
Campilio,
I mean, it looked like he
beat Cloud.
What's that? Sorry,
Campilio, who beat Cloud. I mean,
exactly. All turned out. I think the more experienced fighter, but now you can see why Hopkins and all that didn't
want to know
swerving him are swerving him as well. So, but I think it's no. People saying that Cleverly's got exposed. That is not the case whatsoever. I think in Kovalev, you've got a special fighter here. I think you really, really have got a special fighter here. And I think that he is actually the best in the light heavyweight division by none. And the fight I really want to see, if it would happen, would be Andre
and Stevenson.
Stevenson would be a good fight, but I think Kovalev would actually do a job on Steve. I think that would be. I think Kovalev would beat Stevenson, but I'd actually like to see Andre Wall come up to light heavyweight and fight him. I think that'd be very, very interesting. Very interesting one. Which it could be, I think so.
Ooh, well, I'm not sure if Andre Ward, I'd be in too much of a hurry to come up and fight Kovalev, to be honest.
I don't think he would do. I don't think no one's in a hurry to fight this man, honestly. I really don't think so.
No. That guy punches so hard. I mean, he doesn't punch. He's got atomic bombs. It's different. There's a hard punch. The guys will punch you and knock you over, and you get up. This guy hits you.
That's the thing. He punches. He don't even look like he's trying. It's so natural. It's so natural, the punches. Like, his punching power is so natural. It didn't even look like he's putting any venom in those punches, but they were so effective. It's just, I'd hate to see him actually look like he's putting some venom in those punches.
Exactly.
He's so relaxed, and I think very, very, very dangerous man to fight. I mean, honestly, I can't see anyone in that division actually beating him.
No, not me neither. I mean, well, anybody Hopkins may have a chance because he might be a bit crafty and defensively slick.
Well, that's the thing with Hopkins. He always makes you fight your own fight.
Yeah.
He makes you fight. It goes to prove it all the time as well. And sometimes he might spoil a fight. I think that Hopkins does spoil the fight sometimes when he actually makes it too sluggish. But
yes,
like you say, you've got to win by any means necessary. Sometimes it's not going to be pretty, but he does get the win.
But I wouldn't want to see that fight. I'm not paying any money. I don't want to see that fight.
I don't think you would. I mean, I wouldn't like to see Hopkins in the ring with him, especially. I mean, everyone's saying he's in great shape for his age as well. But age will play a part in that. Age will
Absolutely.
play a part in that as well.
Absolutely.
And like you say, you won't. No matter what anyone says, you won't be able to take a punch as good as you could took it when you was younger.
No,
And
no
that's
chance.
a fact. That's a fact. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. One other fight coming up, or two other fights coming up. Garcia, Matisse.
Oh, do you know? Actually, that's the when that got announced on the what a build that is though. Mayweather, Canelo, absolutely brilliant. And I think, do you know? I can't pick this, even though I mean Garcia's got to go in as the favourite, but I really can't pick. I think that Matisse could get the knockout win here. You watched him against Peterson. That was devastating, absolutely devastating. And I thought, to do that with Peterson, I mean, he's been in there with Ortiz and all that. He's held his own with everyone, Peterson, you know. And to knock that guy out, you know, he absolutely. He's a big talent, Matisse, as well. And I can see him actually. I can actually. I've got a feeling that we're going to see a new world champion.
Yeah, I'm going with Matisse. I think that for me, unless Danny Garcia gets on his toes and boxes, he gets knocked out within 6 because he's too flat-footed. And you can't be flat-footed against a guy like Matisse because you'll take the whole impact of the punch.
Yeah, of course. I think Danny Garcia, great champion, great fighter, slightly overrated. I think Danny Garcia. I don't think he's as good as what everyone's making out to be, but. I mean, it's an interesting fight. I'm looking forward to the whole bill. Really, I think that's an absolutely excellent night of boxing.
Wouldn't you love to promote that fight?
Do you know what? I would love to promote something like that one day. But that's a promoter's dream, that fight. Because I'm not being funny. I don't think there's much work to be put into that. Really, promoting it, is it? It promotes itself. And just sit back and relax and just, you know what I mean, just watch it, because I don't think that bill does need promoting. That actually, I mean, the fight Mayweather and Alvarez, I mean, would sell out would sell out the MGM Grand 10, 20 times. You know, I mean, that would that's a big stadium fight. I mean, and then you had like Garcia and Matisse on the bill as well. I mean,
that's sell out as well.
Exactly. Oh, without that, I mean, that's a sellout. That would sell the MGM Grand out in itself, you know. It's absolutely, it's just excellent. Absolutely, I can't wait. I cannot wait to watch that bill.
And let's come closer to home. Fury versus Hay.
I've been getting. Do you know what? I have really been getting a lot of stick now for saying it, but I'm going with the outsider for some reason. I actually do think that Tyson Fury could take David Haye out. I think I really do, because I think. Tyson Fury, like he knows what he's up against as well, and he's vulnerable. His chin is vulnerable. David Haye, whether he likes to admit it or not, I think that his chin is vulnerable. He can go down easy, especially the cruiserweights. You know, was it McCormack before in France?
Yeah.
When he won the world title.
Mormack, and then of course against Locke and against Thompson.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, and they're cruiserweight punchers. Tyson Fury is a huge man, and he's got a huge punch. And I mean, the way, I'm not being funny, he could go both ways. I mean, you see Steve Cunningham put Tyson Fury down.
Yes.
But then you actually see the way Tyson Fury knocked Steve Cunningham out.
Now, that's the thing that people forget. They keep talking about that punch that knocked Tyson down, but they don't talk about the way Cunningham was left unconscious on the canvas.
And I mean, and he's a very small, and David Haye is a smaller man. You know, I think that if Tyson puts one of them on his jaw, that David Haye will go down. I don't think David Haye will get back up. But I think, do you know what? I've took a bit of a shine to Tyson Fury. You know, I think he's a great character to have in the sport.
Yes.
Really. I just think he's outspoken, you know, and I think a lot of people don't think. I think he's done a lot of talking. I think he has half talked his way into that fight, you know. I think, no disrespect or nothing. Yeah. I think he's a great heavyweight thing. I think if Tyson Fury didn't have the character, what he does, I don't think that he would be in line for that fight.
No,
I don't think he would be. But I'm actually going on an outsider's hunch, and I'm actually tipping Fury. But it's the same with the Chisora and Hay fight. I was changing my mind every week for that fight. I was going, Chisora's going to win. Oh, David Hay's going to win. Chisora's going to win. It's just one of those fights. It's one of those great British fights that's catches the people's imagination.
I haven't swayed once for this fight. I think Fury's going to manhandle Hay. A lot of people don't want to hear that. I think Fury's going to manhandle Hay.
I really am getting a lot of stick for that.
I got stick for it as well. But
like you say, that's our opinion,
Yes.
and that's how it's going to be. But it's the same with then you've got Cole Froch and George Groves coming up as well. And I'm actually going with the outsider for that one as well. I'm actually thinking
Groves that one, are you?
Yeah, I think what done it for me when I watch the interviews as well, and it's just, and I 100% agree what George Groves said when Cole Froch is going, don't let the fans down, come and fight. He's going, why are you telling me how to box? Because I think like when you see it against Andre Ward that Cole Froch, if you don't give him his own way and you're fast, he can't handle it. But then again, I've seen Will Groves' heart rule his head. That's the thing. But that's the thing I've got. But I think George Groves, win or lose, though, I think George Groves is going to be world champion. Like he's a future world champion in the weight, and he's such an incredible talent.
Yes.
George, and people don't realise he's punching power. He's a devastating knockout puncher.
Yes.
George. He really, really is. But I think if he boxes Cole stays on the back foot, just boxes him, don't get dragged into Cole Froch's fight, I can see a Groves win.
Wow. So, okay, October the 12th. How do people get to know more about it?
Well, we got information on our website. Is promotions.co.uk. Okay. All the information up there. Obviously, follow us on Twitter at Box Office Promo. Got some great fight. Obviously, Bruce Scott, Umar Kamalain, and also what I haven't mentioned yet. Very sorry for George Gilliard's return. He's going to be fighting a guy, Scott Hillman from Eastbourne. So that's going to be an incredible fight for George. Scott Hillman, one of those guys, just comes at you, a tough guy, and can pack a punch. So that's going to be an explosive fight, and that's our second main event for that day as well. So we've got an action-packed undercard. We've got live performances from our man, we call him Mr. Soul. He'll be doing a few soul numbers in the intervals. Excellent. And we've got our band FC20 that will be performing on the night as well. So get your tickets. The tickets are going from £20 all the way down to £70 for ringside. So the tickets are going fairly fast, so I'd get in there before there's a mad rush. Anyway,
okay. So and also there's Mark Prince part of you guys.
Mark Prince was actually in line to fight Bruce Scott
right
before we drafted Umar Kamalainen in. So, but he's actually took a Mark Prince took a license out in Malta and is fighting. Will be fighting at your call. So he's decided to go in another direction. Okay. But the way I think what we've been doing as well on the night is raising money for Mark's son's charity, the Kai and Prince Foundation. Right. We've got raffle prizes as well. I mean, Mark, he's a terrific man, and such a nice guy, and it's an honour to be doing something for such a good cause like the Kai and Prince Foundation for him. So we'll be raffling off a load of top prizes and all that, and hopefully be raising quite a lot of money for Mark's. We'll just say Mark's for Kyan's Foundation, which is a foundation which is it's against knife crime. It's you know what I mean. Yeah, it deals with a lot of aspects from there. So, but like I say, Mark will be there on the night as well. But that is definitely a fight that I would like to see if Bruce and Mark stay active in the next even year, maybe even 2 years. I mean, they're still in good shape. Maybe 2 years. I would love to match that fight at Mark Prince and Bruce Scott, because I think that'd be such an excellent fight. It would be. Honestly. And I was actually gutted when Mark took his license out in Malta, because that fight was more or less done, and then Mark's took the other route, obviously, because he's got a pro boxing license, which he's been looking for years as well. So that was something he couldn't turn down as well. So, but hopefully, maybe a year or two that we can get that fight on as well. I think that's a fight that the fans would love to see. So, yeah, you never know.
Finally, where does Alfie Warren want to be in 2 years from now?
2 years from that, Alfie Warren, and also, Alfie Warren and my team from Box Office Promotions, should I say, we want to be promoting professional boxing. We actually do want to be promoted. I mean, like you say, we're promoting professional fighters now, but we want to be sanctioned. We want to be sanctioned and be our fighters competing for British titles and so on. So, like I say, I've got a hell of a lot to learn. I think this is a great platform for me to learn on. So I reckon with a couple of more years' experience, I reckon that I'll be ready to go in there, because that's one thing you can't do. You know, I'm not going to be one of them who's going to lie and say, yeah, I can do this, I can do that. I wouldn't leap into anything if I wasn't 100% sure what I was doing. I mean, everyone says that. Like you say people like Eddie Hearn has been doing it for 2 years. I mean, you can't say that. Eddie Hearn's been learning more than 2 years how to learn that trade. It's only because like he's been promoted for 2 years. You can't say that Eddie Hearn's gone, oh, I think I'll be a boxing promoter. Yeah, I'm going to go and promote boxing. It took him a lot, whether he thinks it or not. It took him a long time to learn his trade, you know, and he's gone in there in a big way, and you know what I mean, and took Britain by storm. Yes. Like with his promoting thing. But that's exactly what we want to do. We just want to learn our trade, work with all the great boxers we're working with, make a lot of contacts, which we already have done in the boxing world, you know, get to know people as well, build up relationships with people, and then hopefully you'll be seeing us, you know, on like a terrestrial channel or something. But yeah, that's our plan anyway, because like I said at the beginning of the interview, Box Office Promotions, just remember that name, because you will be hearing it a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. Alfie Warren, thank you so much for talking to Bayloric TV.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Cheers.